Okay, so let's dig into a pretty wild idea. What if this entire AI revolution, everything we're seeing, wasn't a planned march toward intelligence at all? What if it was just a massive, world-changing accident?
This sentence right here, this is the key to the whole thing. It suggests that what we call AI isn't what we think it is, at all. The argument is that we're not talking to a mind, we're interacting with a kind of statistical echo chamber, a side effect of massive scale that we've just mistaken for the real deal.
So that brings us to the central mystery, right? When you ask an AI to write a song or explain quantum physics, it sure feels intelligent. But is it? Or are we just seeing a ghost in the machine?
I mean, really think about that question. Is the intelligence we're seeing something that was designed, that was architected on purpose, or is it something else, an unexpected phantom that just sort of appeared in the code?
Now, in this context, a ghost isn't anything supernatural, of course. It's an emergent effect, like the appearance of reasoning that has no deliberate structural cause built into the AI's architecture. And that's the key. The system was never actually designed to think.
So what this means is that what looks like thinking is really just a kind of residue. It's a byproduct. The AI has been so saturated with data, I mean practically the entire internet, that it can spot and regenerate patterns that mimic reasoning, but there's no actual cognitive process happening under the hood.
To really get how we ended up here, we have to rewind the tape. We have to go back to the beginning, because the origin of the AI we have today isn't some grand story about creating a mind. It's a much simpler story about solving a boring, old engineering problem.
So before 2017, AI research had kind of hit a wall. The models back then, things like RNNs, had to process information one little piece at a time in a sequence, and it was just incredibly slow. It was a major bottleneck. Then, in 2017, a paper comes out with a solution, a paper that would change everything, but not for the reasons you might think.
And here it is, the first big plot twist. That famous paper, Attention is All You Need, wasn't trying to create artificial general intelligence. Not even close. Its goal was way more modest. Just make machine translation faster. But in solving that one little problem, the authors accidentally created an architecture that could be scaled up almost infinitely.
And this is so crucial. The authors made zero claims about creating intelligence or reasoning or consciousness. If you actually read the paper, its status as the founding document of modern AI is just historically wrong. It was an engineering paper. That's it. Okay, so how in the world did we get from a simple engineering fix to, well, this global phenomenon? This is where the story gets really interesting. That one fix set off a chain reaction, a kind of cascade effect that led directly to the AI we see everywhere today. And this cascade happened in about 6 steps. First, by getting rid of that sequential processing limit, you could suddenly scale things out horizontally, forever. Second, it turned out this new architecture was a perfect fit for GPUs, which made it easy to just throw massive amounts of computing power at it. Third, with all that power, you could suddenly feed the models the entire internet. Fourth, the models themselves just exploded in size. And fifth, at this crazy scale, something weird happened. All the statistical noise started to cancel out, creating this illusion of coherence. And the final step? The accidental side effect of all that brute force, behaviors that look an awful lot like intelligence.
And that brings us to the core argument. We didn't get here through some brilliant breakthrough in understanding how minds work. We got here because the transformer architecture was simply the path of least resistance. It was the easiest, most convenient way to just throw more and more hardware at the problem.
So, what are the consequences of building our entire AI world on top of this accident? Well, it means that every large AI model is basically operating inside a very fragile, very artificial world. You could almost call it the Matrix.
Now, this matrix isn't a simulation of our reality. That's a key difference. It's a totally synthetic universe built out of statistical correlations. It has no connection to the real world, no grounding in actual truth. It's just a self-contained bubble of data patterns.
But this artificial world, it's incredibly fragile. It's not self-sustaining at all. The intelligence we see is an illusion that's kept alive only by a constant, massive fire hose of external resources, more compute, more data, and just staggering amounts of energy. It's on permanent life support.
And here's the critical flaw in the whole system. If you stop feeding the machine, the illusion shatters. The second you stop scaling up, the model starts to degrade. It loses coherence, and eventually it would just collapse. The whole thing is trapped on a treadmill that demands infinite growth just to stand still.
When you put these two paradigms side by side, the difference is, well, it's stark. On one hand, you have our current approach, an emergent side effect that's basically a black box and gets exponentially more expensive. And on the other, a theoretical alternative, an intelligence that's actually designed, that's verifiable, and that's efficient. It really shows you how far our current path is from deliberate engineering.
So the implications of walking down this accidental path are enormous. The current approach is unsustainable, it's inherently unsafe because we can't verify it, and it's super fragile. It's an engineering artifact, not a science of the mind. And maybe the most unsettling part, its creators can control what goes in, but they have absolutely no real control over the behaviors that emerge on the other side.
So you have to ask, if it's so fragile, why are we still on this path? Well, it's a perfect storm, really. It was easy to scale, it started making money, and the whole research culture is built around rewarding performance on benchmarks, not true understanding. Once that train left the station, it just became almost impossible to stop. And that brings us to the bottom line, the crucial point of all this. We are not building intelligence. We are brute forcing the expansion of an artificial, unknown, and ultimately uncontrollable universe of statistics.
And that leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. If everything we've built so far has been an unintentional side effect of solving a totally different problem, what would it actually look like to set out from day one to build intelligence on purpose? What would we do differently? That's something to think about.